All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling something huge, that period in life that's so challenging and honestly pretty misunderstood. We're going to break down what makes it so tough, but more importantly, how you can actually navigate through it.
You know, so many of us get there. It's that strange spot, right? Where you've got enough life behind you to have some regrets, but then you look ahead and there's so much left that it feels, well, completely overwhelming. It's like you're not a rookie anymore, but that finish line, it feels miles and miles away.
Okay, so let's get right into it. To really get a handle on this crisis, we've got to understand the pressures that are unique to this stage of life. And trust me, it's not just in your head. This squeeze, it is so real.
You know, there's a term for this that just hits the nail on the head. The sandwich generation. It's such a perfect image, isn't it? You're literally the filling, just squeezed between your own kids and your aging parents, with both sides needing you.
And the demands, man, they just don't stop. One minute you're trying to figure out a doctor's appointment for your mom or dad, and the next you're trying to help your kid with their impossible math homework. Then you go to work and you're stuck in that classic middle management spot. You've got pressure coming down from your boss, and you're trying to lead a younger team that, let's be honest, doesn't always see things your way. It really feels like you're being pulled in a million directions at once.
So when every ounce of your time and energy is going out to meet everybody else's needs, it's almost inevitable, right? That little voice in your head starts to get louder, asking, hey, what about me? What's my value in all this? Am I actually making my life count?
All of that pressure, well, it often boils over into what you could call a halftime crisis. And this isn't just some clever phrase. The data actually backs this up, and it shows something pretty surprising about this whole stage of life.
Okay, so check this out. Researchers have found this really fascinating pattern when it comes to life satisfaction. It's called the U-curve of happiness. Basically, our happiness starts pretty high when we're young, right? Then, it takes a nosedive, hitting rock bottom right in middle age. And after that, it starts to climb back up again in our older years. So if you're in your 40s or 50s and you're feeling it, you might literally be at the very bottom of that U.
And this isn't just about feeling a little blue. This dip has some really sobering real-world consequences. We see a big spike in divorce rates for this age group, a significant rise in depression, and tragically, it's the second highest risk group for suicide. It's a really stark reminder that this isn't just a feeling. It's a measurable, incredibly difficult reality for a lot of people.
You know, there's this incredible analogy for this feeling that comes from this ancient story about rebuilding a giant wall. The people working on it, they get about halfway done, and they just stop. They're completely overwhelmed, totally demoralized, looking at all the work that's left to do.
And that right there is the first big symptom of the crisis. It's this total shift in your perspective. You've built half a wall, a career, a family, a life, but you stop seeing the wall. All you can see is the rubble. You get laser focused on what's not done, what's messy, what's overwhelming, and you totally forget about the amazing progress you've already made.
All right, symptom number 2, a serious loss of energy. I mean, think about it. Pro athletes, most of them have to hang it up around age 40 because their bodies just can't keep up. For the rest of us, it's kind of the same thing with our mental and emotional energy. Those constant, relentless demands, they just wear you down.
And what happens when your perspective is all twisted and your energy tanks are on empty? Your confidence absolutely plummets. All those fears creep in, the fear of getting laid off, of not being able to pay the mortgage, of failing your family. And the kicker? It's all happening while you feel completely and totally unappreciated for the monumental effort you're putting in and day out.
So, if that's the low point, where do you go from there, right? How do you actually get back to building that wall instead of just staring at the rubble? Well, it turns out that same story that describes the problem so well, it also gives us a 4-step game plan for how to rebuild.
So, let's walk through this. It's a really practical path to help turn this crisis into a major turning point. Let's break down these 4 steps.
Okay, step 1, calculate the cost. And this is huge. Before you make that big, impulsive move, quitting the job, leaving, just giving up, the first thing you have to do is just pause. Seriously, this isn't about ignoring how you feel. It's about actually engaging your brain and thinking logically. What's really at stake here? What are the real-world consequences for me and for the people I care about?
All right, step 2 is to remember past grace. This means you got to look backward for a second and reconnect with your why. Remember the wins, the good times. Why did you start building this life in the first place? Tapping into that history, all those good things that have happened, that's the fuel you need to keep fighting for your future.
Step 3, and this one might be the toughest, is to endure. And I don't mean just grit your teeth. It's about understanding that purpose often shows up after a long, hard struggle. I mean, look at some of these historical figures. Joseph spent 17 years as a slave and a prisoner before he got to his big moment. So that hardship you're in right now, it might not be the end. It might just be the setup for your most important contribution yet.
And finally, step 4, find your support. You absolutely cannot do this alone. In that wall story, the builders were told to rally together. You need that too. You've got to find your people, your family, your friends, a community of people who get it. You need those people on the sidelines, cheering you on, reminding you that you're not in this fight by yourself.
So when you put all these steps together, something really cool happens. The whole thing gets reframed. It stops being about this terrible end or this big failure, and it starts to look like the potential beginning of the most meaningful chapter of your life.
And look, the Apostle Paul is a perfect example of this. By any worldly standard, his first half was a huge success, right? He had status, education, power, the whole deal. But his legacy, the thing he's remembered for, that came from his second half, the difficult, painful, crisis-filled half. That crisis wasn't the end for him. It was the catalyst for his real purpose.
You know what's wild? This whole idea is captured perfectly in the Chinese word for crisis. It's made of 2 characters. The first one means danger, but the second one, it means opportunity. And that's it right there. The midlife crisis presents the very real danger of just giving up, but hiding right inside that danger is this incredible opportunity for a whole new beginning.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that your story is not over. Not by a long shot. In fact, for so many of the most impactful people in history, their greatest work, their real legacy, it all started after they hit that halfway point.
But here's the thing. It all comes down to a choice, a conscious choice you have to make. Are you going to keep staring at the rubble, at the regrets, and the frustrations, or are you going to turn around, pick up a brick, and start building toward the future?
So think of it like this. The crisis, it's not the end of your story. It's just the end of the first half. The first half is history. You've weathered the storm, and now the pen is in your hand. The only question left is, how are you going to write the second half?